So good morning and welcome to KTN Life and Style. And today we're joined by the very beautiful and talented Carol Kinoti. If you're talking fashion in the Kenyan industry, and I have every right to speak on fashion, I was actually first runners up for Miss World Kenya. I'm saying this just in case you need to be a model or
Interesting.
something. I'm also plugging myself in. But for someone who's worked in the industry for at least 5 years, this is a name I have heard being mentioned in a lot of dressing rooms. I haven't had the pleasure of working with you, but today I have the pleasure of working with you in a different, how do you call it, field, and it's still a pleasure. So thank you so much
Okay.
for giving us your time this morning, and welcome to Kitchen Lifestyle. How's the
Thank
experience
you.
been of a designer, Carol? Tell us your experience.
Well, how much time do you have?
Too much time for you. Whatever you need, we will make time.
It's been hectic.
Hmm.
It's also fun and challenging. I think those are the three words I would like to use to say the least here.
Hmm.
Yeah.
How did you find your passion in design? I mean, even on your website, it's the first thing we get to learn. You know where you studied, how you got into design, how you transitioned from your first fashion house to now the Carol Kinoti we know. But we want to know you discovering fashion. How was that journey like?
I actually stumbled into it, which I think happens to a lot of creatives. I don't know, because I'm a creative. I'm a creative. I just did not know where my strength in creativity was. So I started off with food actually and trained to be a chef because I thought
Mm-hmm.
that is what it is that my creativity was leading me to. But I think it's because creatives start to show themselves within the environment within which they are. And food is the easiest because that's where you cook at home, you set the table, you do unique things. So the obvious thing to me was I wanted to be in the food industry. So I went to school to
Mm-hmm.
study being a chef for 3 years. Then, in between waiting for the results and furthering my career, I found myself in an environment where somebody was tailoring, and I spent a lot of time, doing and solving problems around their fashion issues. That's when I realized, oh, I actually have a strength here. Then started off a small business in hairdressing, and alongside the business in hairdressing, I started off a tailoring shop. Then I realized this is where my calling is, and went back to school to study fashion. Of course, I was married by then. And I remember when I chose to go back to school, my mom told my husband, hey, you're wasting your money. She cannot even replace a
Mm-hmm.
button. If I were you, you know, and then I think husbands being husbands supported my dream.
Yeah. But what you're saying is something even I can relate with. You know, like after you've gone to school and studied something or you've set up your base in something, and then you come back and say, I've changed my mind and I feel like this is my true calling. You know, they're
Yes.
like, afadhali tununue ng'ombe tukule. You know, this it's the same thing in most African homes. But I'm glad
Yes.
you managed to, follow your passion and go through. So now you've discovered design. How was it breaking into the industry? Because working in it, I know it is very hard to actually make and build a
Yes.
brand for yourself. But you are Carol Kinoti, and it is a name, it is a brand in itself. How was that for you? How did you start in breaking into the industry to make that one person wear your article of clothing and say designs by Carol?
Well, 19 years. So I've come a long way in the business. The way you feel like you've been carrying some heavy loads, I have carried quite a
Mm-hmm.
bit of heavy loads on my back in the industry. From the first challenge, which was realizing that there's a difference between a tailor and a fashion designer, because
Mm-hmm.
the tailor executes the vision of the fashion designer. And the first challenge actually met with when I started off was being shortchanged and being mismanaged, being handled by tailors, where you do not know how to explain to them, you do not know how to interpret for them. They pack their things and not come to work the following day. That is what led me to go to school, actually, because I told myself, you've got to go and understand the technical part of this if you're going to instruct anybody to do anything that you want to. So I have unpacked a lot of challenges on the way. And that being the first one that I faced, the other biggest was trust, and from the wearers of the clothes, because you can want to sell, but the buyers, if they don't trust you, and especially with
Yeah.
fashion, and women, then you can't even go anywhere. And I've built the trust of my clients over a very long time, to the point whereby if it's not right, I'll tell them in their face, I made it, but you can't wear this. I've made this for you, but I think I made a mistake. I don't think you should take this with you. I think we try this other one. Even if it costs me money or time, I went out of my way. And I always say one of the strengths that I've managed to pull through with even today and has seen me through to the end is just being able to be trusted by my clients. To them to believe that what I put on them is right. It's a right. They will look. They will feel the way they want to feel, because clothes. It's funny. It's not about just covering your body. It does a lot to how you feel the whole day. It does a lot to do with how you people first impression of people on you. So the person you try to dress up needs to trust you. So I faced a lot of challenges across the growth. Some that I can deal with, and some that I cannot deal with because they're just not about me alone. And I would like to emphasize on those because they are the industry change makers, which is first of all being able to be a small manufacturer in Kenya today, and being able to face the challenges that come with cost of doing production and cost of doing business being almost unbearable, which transfers to the user of the clothes. Therefore, the clients go back and start choosing who is cheaper and who is better. Is it China? Is it? So for us, that faces us. It's a challenge that faced me right on my doorstep, because to produce a garment, there are costs that I've got to bear with to be able to sell the garment. And as long as some things are not changed, then you just have to transfer that to the consumer. And the consumer has to react to the environment, which is, what are the other options, that give me the same product at a cheaper, regardless of whether they have feelings for you or not. So that has been one of the biggest challenges that I've faced across the board. And the other one is the Kenyan mindset, which has taken very long, but I'm happy we are there now, of preferring to import, thinking it's cooler to have something from the UK, or brand, that has stayed on for very long, and it's eaten us up for a very long time. But right now, honestly, I would like to celebrate that and say today Kenyans want to be Kenyan. They want to participate.
We have, our mindset has actually shifted. And the one thing you've actually mentioned it, and I wanted to ask you, how did you convince people that I am not a normal tailor? I come up with a design and I give you a product that you buy already made. You don't bring your designs to me. Because a lot of times, you hear designers, but oh, you can bring me this design, this design. You come up with the designs and you put something out, and people are like, no, that's not good enough. I have seen this, make this for me. How did you shift people's mindset, like especially the people you had as your customers? Because I'm sure you had a few show up here and then say, I like this design, make this.
That still happens, but I had to take control. I had to take, I don't know, the bull by its horn, and say, look, you guys, you are interfering with who I am by asking me to copy. You understand? You're not doing justice to my creative space, And let me tell you, I let it happen for a while. Sometimes I even open the door for it a little bit today, once in a while. But for me, it's the most intrusive and disrespectful way you can ever treat a creative, because you are asking the creative to copy. You're not asking the creative to explore their creativity. And let me tell you, when you give a creative the opportunity to explore their creativity, you will actually experience them better and get better results from them. So I kept on fighting for it. And when I was doing what we call made to measure for very many years, I completely refused anybody to bring me a magazine or a photo from a magazine. And I preferred to have a famous sofa where I sat and I had coffee with you. By the time we're done, I could pick out your character and where you're going, how you want to go, how you want to feel, and draw it and sketch it up for you and request that you trust me. So that took long, but one of the things I had to do was to import my own fabrics and bear, the cost of, if it's damaged, then I'll keep it. If you don't have to take it, you don't like it, it's just walking people through trust. And then word of mouth. because if you want client is happy, the next one will tell, quote carols, you'll never go wrong, that kind of stuff.
Even in the industry, there's all this, this, they call it politics. In any industry, there's always politics. But you never hear karaoke in this or that, because a lot of young artists are coming with such hunger, tenacity, and I don't know how you manage to, make space for everyone. Like you said, you're helping them, but at the same time, you're growing so much more, because I think when you give, you get even more,
True.
but it's still a competition. So how do you keep up with the ever-changing trends, especially like you said, Kenyans like being from out there, if Americans are wearing this, this is what we like. So if a designer was coming with the cheap, exact replicas of Adidas wear, and then this health noti with couture line exclusive for this and this person, how do you manage to, keep your clients around?
I stay still. I don't get
Mm.
excited. I'm very still, because there will never be another Carol Kinoti. There will never, no matter how replicas come up, like now. I'll not lie to you, I've got a live case going on right now of an employee that left my organization last week, and actually picked up my current collection, the Blanketi collection. As we speak, this is a live matter going on right now. Changed the name into something else, used my photographs, and started selling the same product.
I have heard this about a lot of designers in Kenya. So what is the process? Take us through that, because this is one of the reasons for your success, because I'm sure this happens a lot of times.
I have had similar cases before. I've had a case before of somebody who also left and started using my business card. But this particular one, in the face of today's exposure, which is a digital media, and not overlooking that the COVID has put us out into the cyberspace and the media space a lot more to do business. And it's something that I thought would be coming soon. I just didn't think it would be coming this soon, where somebody actually steals, I'll call it theft. And this happens a lot even in music. I mean, in the creative industry, where somebody doesn't have the ability to create, but they have the ability to steal someone's creativity. And I think it's honestly, because this happened as live as yesterday, for creative like me, I didn't sleep well at all, because it's very intrusive. It's, you can have your phone stolen, you can have your laptop stolen, but when creativity that's within you is stolen, it's the highest level of theft and intrusion into someone's
and
space.
disrespect, because I can only imagine your creative process, because all creatives have their own process. And even before we get into that, you've mentioned something that I really wanted to talk about, the Blanketi collection. I love things that I can chill at the house with, and I don't need to wear pants. I will state that on TV. And I have seen one of them, and I absolutely love it. I'm just ready to stress out my significant other and tell them, we need a matching pair. That is what we need in this house. But tell us about your Blanketi collection.
Let me tell you about the Blanketi collection, now that you've asked. COVID happens, and then we are told to sit at home and stay safe. And you start looking at your closet, and everything that's there is either for going to work, or it's holding you somewhere, or you need a jersey on top, or you need to come on Zoom and it's not rightful. So then you still want to feel like you're at home. Those things combined into one. So this one time I was doing a collection for a close friend of mine, and we're joking about it and calling it the Corona collection, because we're both immersed into it, and you're like, this is our Corona thingy. We were looking through different sections of the closet, like how do you sit at home? How do you go to shags and sit at home? How do you receive visitors in the evening? So we're putting her clothes, looking at how her lifestyle is. So one of these garments is a garment that you're like, what? Sometimes when I go out at night, I want something that is heavy on the neck and very long. Put something with a bit of a warm material for me. So I go find fabric and I make this thing for her. Then we find a fault, like a tear on it. Then I'm like, okay, it's okay, let me go home with it. I put it in my closet. So one of this evening, I was having a dinner to my son and my husband. Now, creatively COVID, let me open the doors and do it outside. So I was like, what do I wear? You know, I'm like, I was like, let me look at this thing. It's actually oversized. Let me just, I think this is nice because it covers me up. So I picked up that dress, put it on. Then when I'm coming down the stairs, my son is like, Mom, why are you all dressed up? I said, I don't know. I just thought this thing keeps me warm and sitting outside. I don't, it didn't want to look nice. So we sit, and let me tell you, we sat until midnight. And by then I'd pulled the pole neck over my head and my toes were completely covered. And I was like, you guys have been laughing at me in this thing. It's the best thing ever. So the following day I met my client, and I'm like, you have no idea what I did with that thing. She's like, what did you do? He said, Carol, we can actually use a fleece material. So we got excited and we picked the fleece. Can you make me one out of a heavier fabric? So I make it quickly and then I send it to her. She called me and told me, Carol, there's an emergency. Everybody wants to get it. I don't even know if I'll put it out just in case it's stolen. My son, my husband, everybody.
And it's unisex. That's the beautiful thing. Like the big frock, beautiful.
Actually, that was our concern. Like, shock. My husband also wants it. She's like, let me just, please make a few for my kids. Inside a week, we had produced over 80 pieces. Because he posted one photo and her nieces, her cousins.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? Can we refine this into a product? So the fact that I was actually going through a phase of what happens to my program, which I'd actually just been told it has to be shut down because of COVID. The next agenda for my training facility was to start production, find a product, an item that's Kenyan made that can be mass produced. So that's how this gown turned into a solution to that problem and a solution.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Thank you. So
I think we should stop calling you a creative and call you an inventor. A creative is not term enough for what you people do, especially in the fashion industry. And I really wish Kenya would open up their minds to the fashion industry and see how many beautiful things we have to offer. I have worked in the industry, so I can say with a lot of confidence, Kenya has a lot to offer if we take our time and give guys like you a platform like this, and people take note and follow through that. So even before we close up,
yes,
for someone in your place, I mean, there are always goals you're trying to reach, but for people like us looking outward, inward, I see success. I see someone I'm excited to talk to. The whole morning I was like, I'm talking to Carol. If you listen to the day, I've never worn her design, but I've done runways where guys are wearing her design. I can't believe I'm talking to someone I know. It happens all the time. I'm excited like that. But what is the advice you'd give to someone coming up? What are the mistakes you did that you can tell someone, if this is presented to you, you can do better than I did?
Go to school and study business. I would tell my fellow creatives, go to school and study business, because it's one thing to be a creative, it's another one to commercialize your products. And that is where we go wrong, because creatives get too attached. They create products not for the end user, but for themselves. And they get too attached to them. You understand? So go to school and just study how to do business and how to put a product in the market and how to be a brand. A brand is a promise. So how do you promise? What promise do you give to your clients that they can vouch for? So I would ask the many creatives that are out there to go to school and study business.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Business study is important, especially with everything becoming so commercialized nowadays. And especially if you want to do business, just study business. And I was even watching a documentary and he said, I studied business and learned my craft on the way. Because there's certain things you'll never really know about business. Carol, I can't say how excited I was for this. I cannot emphasize how happy I am to have finally met you. Not in person, but I'm hoping when life goes back to normal, we'll have a studio interview. But thank you so much for giving us your time this morning. It's a pleasure for me, to be honest. For someone who's worked in the industry, it's a big pleasure for me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.